Tell me a little bit more about like training with Kyle and that kind of like one-on-one.
So this is a funny story. This guy, Kyle, comes in, he's like, I'm gonna be your trainer. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. So I'm gonna show sometimes, I'm not gonna show sometimes. I don't care, you can just charge me because it's a deal, right? So, and he's like, he goes, okay. But Kyle kind of had a picture of what I could and couldn't do, and I couldn't do much, right? I had hip issues where like my hip would freak out when I would do something with my legs. When I would try to do bench, I would have all this pain in my shoulder. You and Kyle left to create this new entity. And I was like, what am I gonna do? Like, I'm gonna have to do something real here because there's gonna be like, real people around me. And in the beginning, it was definitely difficult, but I think over time, I just bought in.
What has turned the corner there? Like, what has made it such a priority for you?
I mean, I think it comes down to when my son Xavier was born, I couldn't even carry him for 2 or 3 blocks without struggling. I think what's crazy is I got my strongest when I stopped paying attention to what I look like in the mirror. Just went through the motions of what it's gonna take to just be consistent.
Show up, do the work, don't miss a meeting.
I'm Patrick Song, and this is Citizens of Fortitude.
One of our first members at the gym.
Number 7
member at the gym, going back to 2015, 2016 when we first started. It's great to have you here, Pat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be here.
Good. So I want to start because I think your story is interesting and indicative of like how a lot of people kind of get into fitness, particularly people who are a little resistant to get started. So for those of you who don't know, and I can't imagine most of you do, Pat actually started as a personal training client of Kyle's when we were at the gym Peak Performance, which Kyle and I both worked at prior to opening up at Peak. So tell us a little bit about that, Pat. Like, what was your experience like at Peak? Tell me a little bit more about like training with Kyle in that kind of like one-on-one environment.
Sure, no problem. So this is a funny story because the owner of the gym was Joe Dowdell, and he was a good friend of mine, and he needed like IT services and stuff like that. So I said to him, look, you don't really have any money, so we'll do this exchange. I'll do this IT stuff for you, and what you can do for me is give me some training. I'm weak, I might as well do something, And so I'm thinking I'm gonna work out with Joe. And of course, nobody works out with Joe, right? We all know that. So what ends up happening is this guy, Kyle, comes in, he's like, I'm gonna be your trainer. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. I'm like, look, this is the deal. I'm doing an exchange with Joe, so I'm gonna show sometimes, I'm not gonna show sometimes. I don't care, you can just charge me because it's a deal, right? So, and he's like, he goes, okay. And so Kyle and I just started to work out, and we were having more fun than anything. I don't think it was like, I didn't really have any goals. I didn't say like, oh, I want to lift, I want to do this. It was just like, let's just do something and we'll work on it. But Kyle kind of had a picture of what I could and couldn't do, and I couldn't do much, right? I had hip issues where like my hip would freak out when I would do something with my legs. When I would try to do bench, I would have all this pain in my shoulder. So there was all kinds of issues that we were dealing with, and Kyle was just like, let's just take it easy. We're gonna slowly start doing this stuff. So we would do like, different types of exercises that had to do with like, for example, I had a shoulder issue all the time. So I couldn't even do like a back squat with the bar. I had like this weird thing that kind of came over your arms. You had to hold these poles. So I learned to do that for like back squat. And because I had so many issues with my shoulder, front squat kind of became the first thing that I learned even before back squat. So I was, putting that bar really uncomfortably on your neck and stuff like that. So
big jump up.
It wasn't fun. But I really started to get better at things like the front squat and the bench. Like I would start to really enjoy the bench, and I was weak, right? So I was working on it. In fact, there's even a video of me where like, I think we slapped some 45s on there, and I finally got it up for like 1. And so it was like monumental moment for me, right? And I was like, oh, this is great. This is going to be so special. So while that was happening, I'm also, really, really having a great friendship with Kyle. So I was just doing all these things with, Kyle when it comes to the gym, and I'm also doing all this stuff personally with him. So a friendship was being bonded. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go to hang out with him. And so in that same period of time, I was starting to get a little bit stronger because I'm doing exercise, which I wasn't doing at all before I got together, with the Peak guys. So that was kind of the main thing that happened there. And then, eventually you and Kyle left to create this new entity. And I was like, what am I going to do? Like, I'm gonna have to do something real here because there's gonna be like, real people around me, and they want to do these group things. So I was like, I'm going to try it. So I started to give it a shot, if you will, like start to get focused. In the beginning, it was definitely difficult, but I think over time, I just bought in, and once I started to buy in, that made a big difference for me. And that started to really change how I looked at working out and also the body shape and everything that came with it.
And one of the first things that I remember when you came to the gym, and this was in the early days, and I think a transformative moment, I think for you was the first time you got on the assault bike or the Echo bike. Do you remember that at all?
The one with the chain, or
yeah, the one with the chain, like the very first time, and you had like kind of a high performance. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that.
So I think the first time we rode these bikes, you really felt that if you really went, these calories would really be going, and you're just like, oh my God, right? Like you can do this stuff. So there's a mantra that Kyle would always tell me to do, which is Band of Brothers, right? It's always about making sure that when you're doing things that you don't leave everyone behind and that you commit all the way. So I'm thinking Band of Brothers and all this stuff, and I'm just going and going. And I remember it because I think there's even some videos and also some photos of it that were on the Fort site. But I remember doing really well and going, wow, this stuff isn't that bad, right? And I think those moments where things start to click and you're like, wow, I can really rev this thing. Because as you rev the old bikes, you can see it and you can hear it, and the bike is sounding like you're doing it. Now these new bikes, they kind of on rubber bands, and you have no like nothing happening, and you're going and you're like,
drive,
yeah. I think it takes the mojo out of you because you're just like, okay, I'm going, but you're not going anywhere, right? And you're just like, please calorie, turn over, please calorie. But the old bikes, I remember I would try to go as fast as I could in 30 seconds and see how many calories I could do. And it was a big difference. So I guess that was one of the motivating things for me, was like being able to see the change. Like when you're looking at the screen of that bike and you're seeing how, as you're going faster and you're seeing the results, it was a big difference. Like for me, like before I would be like, oh my God, I'm not going anywhere. But one day I just went really super hard as I could. And it started showing me that if I made the effort, that I would get good results.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that. What's the difference been for you, like training around other people and like kind of in that group, that Band of Brothers thing that Kyle talked about, compared to kind of doing like the one-on-one? What has that meant to you?
I think the main thing that the Fort brings is that kind of feel of family, right? I've been training with the same people for a while now. Me and Richard Young Money, as I call him. We've been together for a while. And it's funny because Young Money, when he first started, he was kind of a bigger guy. And I remember one day, and I go through ups and downs. Some days I'm really good. Some days I'm garbage. Some days I have no commitment. And it was one of these days where we were going against each other, and I was on the right and he was on the left. And Jess brought him in and was like, you better show up because Money's going to beat you. And I'm like, no, he's not. Immediately I've got that like, no, he's not. And so we're rowing and he ended up beating me. And I was like, who is this guy? I've never even seen him before. And he was transforming in front of me. Like he was a bigger guy that was slowly losing weight right in front of me. So we kind of attached to each other and started working out because I recognized, hey, this guy is in it and I'm trying to get in it more. And so we started working together more, and it just started to bond into what we call our little group, which we call the Fantastic Four. But even before I was with him, I always like to embrace the group I'm around, positive energy, encourage. Like if I see someone doing something wrong, if they're willing to listen, help them with stuff because I've been around a while. I think it's a great environment where everyone is there for a positive reason. No one's trying to say, I'm better than you. No one is saying, hey, I'm here and I don't want to talk to you. It's very, very open, friendly. The competitions are fun. I think if you ever see one of my group sessions, you'll see that at the end of our session, when we're doing a thaw, there's a big group around us because there's always a show. I would say that we're putting on a show, right?
What has turned the corner there? Like what has made it such a priority for you?
I think it comes down to when my son Xavier was born, I couldn't even carry him for 2 or 3 blocks without struggling. And that's a baby, right? We're talking not even that much weight, but throw him in one of those baby carriers and you're trying to carry him. I'm like, oh my God, my back hurts. Oh my God, this hurts, that hurts, my leg hurts. The confidence that you get from just being able to lift both your kids and even climb the stairs is amazing, and what it does for your mental side of you. You just feel like you can accomplish anything. And I think that's one of the things is I'm someone who wants to accomplish a lot. And when they're goal driven, you know, like whether it be making money or whether by running a successful IT company, all those things I've done. So crossing over to this athletic side of the world and being, you know, something where I can accomplish these goals has been something that I've always dreamed of. So it's like to be able to do it, you know, you always said, Dan, just show up, right? And I was always like, yeah, whatever, okay. But that's what I did. You know, I said, okay, I'm gonna come here 4 days. I'm gonna be here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then skip Friday or however, but do 4 days. And whether I'm giving 110%, 90%, 50%, I'm here. So I'm only gonna get better and gonna get stronger and understand the exercises. So that's what it became. It just became kind of like, if I make this routine and if I can just do it, not make excuses because it's raining, not make excuses because I'm in pain or make excuses because I've got a meeting, but continue to say that this is part of who I am, it's gonna make a difference. And it definitely has. Like I said, it's made me stronger. It's made me more confident. It's made me someone that when I look in the mirror, I'm happy to look at what I see. You know, I think that's one of the big things too, is just the whole way you feel on the inside sometimes doesn't match what you are on the outside. And to start to match that outside to the inside has been a heck of a journey.
Nice. Well, that's great to hear.
I think what's crazy is I got my strongest when I stopped paying attention to what I look like in the mirror, what, you know, like what I'm eating and all this stuff, and just went through the motions of what it's going to take to just be consistent, right? That consistency changed everything. So I'm kind of the basis of why the program exists for the whole 4:30 locking in place and stuff like that. And I wanted to do that so that I would create more accountability to myself. And once I did that, it was like, okay, instead of looking at it as, hey, I go to the gym at 4:30, it says at 4:30, this is locked in. I'm paying for it. I'm here. It's whether I'm going or not, it's always locked in for that 4:30.
Spread the ball. Spread the ball. Drive. Come on. Push through it. Lock it.
And that made me say, like, it was a meeting. You know, like in business, we don't miss meetings. So why would I miss this thing? So I would be there 4:30 and I would just do my thing. And whatever that result was at 5:30, I would just accept it. I used to complain all the time. Wow, I could have done this. I could have done that. But I'm just more like these days, I'm like, I'm going to give it everything I got at this moment. And then that was that day. And the next day, it's going to be something different. And I'm going to do the same thing. And that's where that consistency comes in. I wouldn't let it get personal or any kind of focus that stuff in my head. I just wanted to show up. And that's what's made the difference.
Nice. Show up, do the work, don't miss a meeting.
That's right.
I love it. All right. I think that's a good place to wrap it up. This has been Pat Song, AKA Pat Strong. And I am Dan Trink from The Fort, where we take this seriously and we do what works. And we'll catch you in the next one.